Ladies and gentlemen, we have a Terran versus Zerg, Plat 3, hanging in there. And today, my goal is to play like Maru. Unfortunately, I am not Maru, so it's not the cleanest, but I'm attempting to move on to learning how to macro better, because the thing is, with YouTubers trying to teach you a bronze to grandmaster 8-move strategy, I get it. Production and spending your minerals is the #1 thing to do, but I want to have fun too. And having fun involves getting units on the board and getting map control, not necessarily always A-moving your whole entire army. And so, one thing that I was noticing on Reddit is discussing that when you're playing against Zerg, you don't necessarily want to send your whole entire army out onto creep. That's a good way to get killed with all of your technical units being unsieged. And so what I decided to practice this map is getting a nice defensive lineup and then using around 16 or like a double drop worth of Marines and Marauders to clear creep, harass the enemy, pick off bases, because I've found that that's sort of what Maru and folks do. Maru. It's sort of what you're supposed to do when you're better and you're able to multitask, which is really hard. It's tough to command troops around the map while also focusing on your macro. The Zerg is going for a 2-base roach pressure. I won't call it an all-in because at the moment he's still making drones and defensive structures. Meanwhile, I have a Widowmine drop ready because he was random, I just used my TVP build because it's a bio 2-pronged pressure. I figured that'd still work out all right. This is annoying because he's killing my supply depots, but he is skirting around my tank line, which is keeping him back. Meanwhile, if we skip back 15 seconds, I drop in my Widowmine drop, and we reduce him to a worker count lower than what I'm working with. So already negating the damage that he's inflicting on my economy. I have a Raven because, again, I was working with a TVP build off the start as an opener. But I'd say overall a decent deflection of his attack. He sends out another wave of roaches and ravagers. And this is, I'm reaching the point where I'm trying to build my defensive front line, because it seems like Maru tends to get 3 to 4 bases up and really focus on holding those bases while gradually expanding out when possible. One thing that I noticed that Maru would do is set up like a defensive fortress of sorts, of getting his tanks covering his bases, literally and metaphorically, putting some liberators to help protect it. I know that that's a bit of a Terran versus Protoss sort of setup with like the liberators and everything included. Well, I guess not either. You can use them against later game units too, but definitely against this Roach Ravager, I feel like some liberators do a lot to him. He does keep a decent pressure on me. My mineral count is skyrocketing because I'm feeling the pressure. And he's picking off my tanks, making me pull back my third. But I'm still building stuff behind it. I'm still trying to focus on macro because I know that this isn't a game-ending push. I get my A little bit of a tank line reestablished. And I push him off my turf. One thing that I've noticed Maru doing that Uthermal also points out in his Maru macro analysis videos is that Maru focuses on army composition during the game. So later in the game, when your lower tier, less valuable troops like way too many Marines and Marauders get killed, you rebuild more valuable troops, which makes a lot of sense. But in my Bronze to GM YouTuber series A move mindset, I just try to max out, and so I'll like replace even high tier troops with lower tier Marines and Marauders, fill up my barracks with queues, and then I'll be out of minerals and gas before I can afford to build out of my starports and factories and get my siege tanks and liberators back up. So in this game, I intentionally focus on, after I'm maxed out, trying to purposely decide what I'm going to rebuild my lost supply count with. And again, having everything pre-sieged takes a lot off of your mind, because you don't have to panic about getting your tank line reset up or anything, which when you're always trying to focus on an all-in at 200, you might leave them at your base, or I might leave them at my base and have them ready for my, I don't know, a move to the other side of the map. I'm definitely not doing a great job at harass or pressure right now, but again, I feel like that's kind of what Maru does, is that he maxes out and then focuses on that stuff. I have my double drop, or my Widow Mine drop, so I did my early game harass. And also, the enemy's been right on my doorstep, so I haven't had a lot of free space to move troops away from defending my bases. With that being said, I do send a double drop around because I'm finally getting close to maxing out and getting a good defensive line of tanks and liberators. And again, the Zerg is pushing right into my defensive line, which is creating really high value trades for me, which is always nice to see. And so I'm definitely struggling this game to balance aggression and creep clearing with macro, but it's also just because I've been struggling to macro. But here I finally get a chance to pressure the Zerg with my double drop. Although he has so much defensive infrastructure up that there's not much that I feel like I can do here. And so I think I make a smart decision to decide to pressure elsewhere. And this is mainly where I'm thinking about clearing creep. And also, I'm able to deny an expansion, coincidentally. Didn't even realize that I did that. The Zerg, I think this is the fun part about this. The Zerg decides that if all my attention and army is in his side, he can push into my base. And so again, I've already got such a strong defensive line set up, and I get a brilliant anti-armor missile off. I just have these ravens sitting around because it was my Terran versus Protoss build, but I think it really helped me defend here. And while all that happened, if we go back in time 30 seconds or so, I coincidentally was able to take out a gold mining base and all the workers here. And I already had a worker lead because the Zerg has been really focused on pressuring me with his Roach Ravager attacks. And I'm even able to pressure this second hatchery, and eventually, I believe, take it down. Nope. Alright, so I only killed one of those. But I killed all the workers mining at them too. And then I pick up, drop down, and then clear some creep. And meanwhile, my mineral count is below 1,000. So when I'm doing this kind of macro... Oh, I spoke too soon. I was going to say, anytime I'm trying to do this sort of micro, my mineral count gets really high. Especially when I can't just build troops. I have to actually build infrastructure because I'm maxed out. But what's new for me is at this point in the game, and maybe I could have won. I think I definitely might have been able to. This is where I just max out, take my whole army, and move it to his side of the map. Instead, because I'm trying to practice Maru macro, interpreted by a platinum player, I just move out a double medevac drop worth of Terran bio units. I'm still able to get a lot done with it. I take out another base, and meanwhile, I don't risk a giant bailing bus or anything flooding in and trading a base. I probably could have ended here, but again, I'm just trying this other play style and trying to get a better read of game sense and all that, because realistically, I'm pretty dumb. And now I move in for a little flanky push. Just keeping that pressure on. And then I scan and see that that's mainly his whole army there, so I start bringing all of my troops over. I got my Liberator, got my little line. I'd still keep the tank siege. I probably could have brought them over too. But it's like a little 1-2 that I do. I siege the Liberators from over the rock wall, and I push the Marines and Marauders from the ramp. And then I clear this creep. I don't know if that's like the best thing to make use of this time and position, but you gotta clear creep, am I right? And now I start queuing up all my reinforcements right to this front line and choke off his army from getting anywhere outside of his main base. I don't use my ghosts really, but I'm trying to get used to working them into control groups and hotkeys and stuff. And there we go with the good games and everything. It wasn't my best game, wasn't the best matchup to demonstrate this, but it's just a learning process I'm trying to figure out. And I figured I'd invite you all to join in on as I try and develop my skills as a Terran player. Thanks for watching. Subscribe, thumbs up, comment. Catch y'all later.